No, he didn't.
Girl. Yes, he did.
Now, we are a little crestfallen because we are having to re-record this week's podcast. We had a lively debate.
Dang, I don't think we can recreate that.
But you know what? This pandemic technology curve is not being flattened at all. So we're going to talk about what we were talking about. Hopefully you won't be ready to fight me like you were last time.
Y'all missed it, man. Y'all missed it.
I'm sorry. And I was like, what? This little petty thing rising up on me. So I'm sure we won't be able to recreate the pandemonium of the pandemic, but we still are going to talk about what we were talking about this week. Make sure you like the Facebook page, follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Make sure you subscribe to all of our podcasts as well as our YouTube page and our Patreon.
Yes. We didn't mention that.
I guess the conversation we just had that did not record was really just a conversation between two friends who was about to have to fight. Conversation is based on
defensive. Why you being defensive?
I was like, just listen to the question. But y'all missed all that. So let me tell y'all what we was talking about. Why she got all in her feelings. She won't do it now because I think now she heard me. So we ain't even gonna get petty on 10. So the question is, if a man does not want to get married, is that a deal breaker? Whether you've been dating for a short time, a long time, years, months, first date, if a man communicates to you he has no interest or desire in getting married, is that a deal breaker for you to continue seeing him? If you want to get married. If you don't want to get married, then it's not a point.
It's not a question. Yeah.
So because of the two of us having different points of views, I'm not opposed to getting married. I'm not attached to getting married. If somebody told me that on a first date, it really wouldn't affect me. It would affect you.
Right. Because that's still a goal of mine to be married to somebody I love, not just to be married. So I wouldn't, in this space and time, I wouldn't want to pursue anything outside of that, just to set myself up, because I still have that goal in mind.
But he is a great, attractive, funny, wonderful guy, which we don't see a whole lot of them in the world.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
The thing is, if you don't have this one goal that you have, you would not see him. Let's say he communicated that on the first date. You wouldn't give him a second date. I still find it hard to believe that you saying that again the second time.
What else I was to say?
Well, because I thought I had brought you from the unrecorded conversation out into the light of saying, hey, good people are hard to come by. And just because he doesn't have the same goal as you does not mean you should throw him to the side like yesterday's trash.
Yeah. Well, who said I threw him to the side like
you said you wouldn't give him a second date?
Because that's not his goal. He doesn't want that. So we don't. Why would I start off a relationship not wanting the same thing with someone?
It's not. You're not starting off a relationship. It's a second date.
But what are you dating for? What am I dating for? I'm dating to marry.
Right. So even though you had a great time with this really attractive, great guy, and you ain't had a great date in a long time.
Doing it, y'all.
I'm just saying, you ain't had one in a minute. You said communicated he does not have any interest in getting married. You would not have a second date.
And so, and as I explained on the unrecorded podcast, this is where I am right now. So I'm not saying never say, I will never say never. That's never like, I'm not going to put myself in that position. But where I am right now at the age of 36, I'm giving myself this window of still pursuing marriage.
Right. Being intentional, knowing what you want, not settling for anything.
And not settling for anything else and that stuff. And I mentioned in the unrecorded podcast.
We're going to stop referring to the unrecorded podcast.
I mentioned in the unrecorded one. I don't know where I'll be next year. I don't know mentally. I don't know where I'll be 5 years from now or 10 years from now. This is how I feel today. And
this great, wonderful, attractive guy who's so into you would not get a second date.
Yeah. Yes. And I also, that's the thing, because I've never ever been in this position before either. I've never had someone tell me, hey, I don't ever plan on getting married or this and that and the other, so I've never had that issue. I've never faced that, but I would like to think that because that's one of my goals, then that should,
So why do you think you've never been in that situation? Do you think it's an age thing, the age of guys you're dating, or?
Probably. That's probably the main thing. Most guys I date have not been married. I've dated some previously married people, but most guys I date have never been married, and so they still feel it is a goal. But a lot of times they want to get married at 40 something.
Right, and that fibromyalgia kicks in.
It's probably more of an age thing than anything. I've never dated anyone. Yeah, I don't even know if I know any men that are friends of mine that say, "Oh yeah, I'm never getting married."
Well, when I was your age, or actually a little bit younger, is when I met my true love, and I wanted to get married to him, and that is what I was very attached to. And looking back 12, 13 years later, I realized how much of that time of me wanting to be married to him was wasted in just not enjoying him. Whereas at almost 45, I would just love the opportunity to just be able to enjoy him. We ain't never got to get married. We ain't got to talk about nothing about tomorrow. Just give me today. But that was nowhere near my thought when he was in my life when I was 30.
Yeah, and you mentioned that before about not enjoying the moment with him. And
because I was always very attached to what did that mean, or what was the next moment going to be, because I was attached to an end goal.
Yeah.
And so you know what? Your heart and your spirit, when you're so attached to that end goal versus the person and the journey, I feel like your spirit is always saying, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" You know, when you're going somewhere you've never been, it feels like it takes so much longer than on your way back home. You're like, "Oh, why did I feel so much longer?" Because you don't know where you're going and you attach to a destination. I can see that in that relationship, that moments and situations we were in, or even really great, wonderful moments. I remember he surprised me with a trip to Las Vegas. I can't tell you nothing about it because I can't. Ooh, people get married in Vegas. Oh, I couldn't tell you nothing about Las Vegas because it's a blur, because I was so attached to what does this surprise trip to Vegas mean? And wait, and what is he, and wait, and why, who he, as opposed to just saying, "Oh, let's just have a great time in Vegas." And that's just me being honest, looking back. He recently divorced, and he wasn't trying to be nobody's husband right there. Yeah. Even though we had this great, wonderful connection, I also respected the fact that I really didn't want to be the rebound. I couldn't help when and how I met him that I was the rebound. You fast forward that many years now to where I am today, I'd be like, "Yuck, let's go surprise me with a trip to Vegas."
I'm ready now. I'm ready.
I'm gonna enjoy everything, and I'm not gonna ask you nothing about tomorrow. I promise. I promise. I'll be good. I ain't gonna say nothing. But I can know that that's true for me right now, though, too. And I know that was not true for me then. So as you live, you learn, you start getting different attachments. I feel like a lot of times women end up married because they do express to the guy first, second, third date, whatever their intentions of wanting to get married. And a lot of times men will perpetrate a fraud in order to have that time and interaction with you, knowing that they ain't gonna marry.
Yeah.
But they know you're not gonna give them the time of day because you've expressed what you're interested in and where you're going with this.
There's definitely a danger in that. Or a guy, whatever your goal is, they'll try to perpetrate that just to keep you around or keep you interested.
And I just thought about something. So I dated a guy this many years ago. This just came to my mind. And I remember we were seeing each other often. We weren't like in a relationship. We would just see each other sometime, hang out sometime. And one of the last times we hung out, he told me that he had decided to pursue this other woman more seriously. So when a man tells you that, you kind of like, "Oh, okay." It was years later that we formed a friendship that I asked, "Hey, let me ask you this," because we was all just hanging out, kikiing. I wasn't your girlfriend or nothing, but what was it about the other woman that made you want to pursue a relationship and actually a marriage with her? And he said, "Because she told me, listen, I ain't trying to date and kiki. I want to get married." So he looked at her through that lens. He said, "You never said anything about getting married. You always cool and casual. And so that wasn't nothing you wanted." Now, the reason why that stuck out in my mind just now is because he did marry that other woman and been cheating on her ever since. So it's not so much that he wanted to get married or should have gotten married. He wanted someone who wanted to get married.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, how do you can't predict the future, and you can't protect yourself from somebody else's intentions.
Right, because people are horrible, especially men. We know that.
Especially. Not a male bashing platform. But men are the worst.
They are horrible. I don't know. And I don't think there's an answer to how you can protect yourself from that. You do use your discernment.
Right.
Even like when we were talking about, like our past relationships, as far as people who really just want a wife and they just want to insert you in that picture. That's not a happy relationship to be in either. So, just because I say I want to get married doesn't mean I want to marry the wrong person for the wrong reason.
But think about how many women are so attached to getting married that they just insert man here.
Yeah.
It's not because it's their life partner or a mate.
And I think that the fact that I'm still 36, I'm 36 and I'm still not married, not that I'm old, but that I'm still not married, like speaks to the fact that I'm not willing to just marry somebody just to be married.
Right.
I've had relationships where that could have been an end goal. But if it wasn't right, then that's not what we're going to do.
So when did you know in your past relationships, if your goal has been to this point to get married, when did you know that was not going to be your end goal with people you dated?
When they cheated.
Okay, but when you dated them, your end goal was still to marry that person. That's why you were dating them.
Yes, that was a goal. Yeah. One guy, I thought we were moving too fast. I was super young then, and I thought we were moving way too fast. We didn't know each other enough, I don't think. And then there was another guy that I dated for a while, and we talked about marriage and stuff like that. But looking back, that was a good thing that we didn't get married.
So there's nobody from your past that you think you could be married to today? Not saying from that time, but that you would marry today?
No.
Okay. So now, is that because you changed so much? Because if you were dating them, it's because you saw them as marriage potential. Why would you not think about marrying them today?
I think I've changed. I think my idea of a great relationship has changed too. So I think my idea of happiness has changed. I define my happiness. So a lot of times in the past where I was allowing a guy to determine how happy I was in life. You know what I mean? And so when I, pretty much when I hit 30, it was like, oh girl, you are it.
Right.
Everybody else is. So, I mean, that's probably been a detriment to me in relationships too, but it definitely kept me from, making mistakes of being with someone who I shouldn't be with.
And so that's the beautiful thing, is that when we can go back and say how we have changed or what we used to require. And I don't even want to say it as, because sometimes I think when I've encouraged people my age or older who are still attached to, remember our friend who was 50, who didn't want a man who had ever been married or had kids. Mm-hmm. And I said, at 50, is that realistic? Now, I'm not asking you to settle, but there's a difference between settling and being realistic. I want someone who has lived a good life, and has experiences and has had things that they failed at and things that they've succeeded at and things that they have learned that they can bring and teach me and also just know better for themselves.
Yeah.
So it's okay to change your list without feeling like that's meaning you're settling. Whether it was, oh, he can't do this, he can't do that. Well, if he hadn't shown up, you got to be open to saying, okay, but what's most important? I mean, I think that's the same thing, whether it's a job, a car, a house. All of us have, I want a big old house with 85. Okay, but does that make sense for you today and now with how much you hate cleaning one bathroom? Mm-hmm. And so you have to say, this is who I am. I'm different than how I was. And I think a lot of times as women, I think because we think of it in changing that list we had when we were 16 as settling, then sometimes that causes women to settle. It's like, okay, well, you know what? I ain't get this and this, so okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just get this thing out the garbage can, cause
you're right. It does. It has an opposite effect a lot of times. But and I think about my list. When I was a teenager, I wanted to be the first mother that I didn't want anybody with kids. Didn't want anybody with a previous marriage, probably in my 20s, and that didn't last long. But I mean, we do evolve and we realize what's important and what's not.
Right. Right. I remember thinking, he can't have no kids. And I remember specifically, I was in my 30s when I thought, I can't date somebody that don't have kids because he gonna be looking at me to have them, and I don't think I want to. And so that was 100 and 180 switch for me from he got kids to, oh wait, he ain't got no kids.
And the same thing with divorcees. Like you can't, marriages fail, sadly. Hopefully if you find someone who's divorced, they've learned how to, learn mistakes from that.
They have an experience that you don't have. And so it's not necessarily negative against them, depending on, obviously, case by case scenario.
Yeah.
But they've been in a situation that would be just like if you were going to go skydiving and they've been before, you might trust them a little bit better about when they tell you about some of the things that might scare you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, you've been there. Let me see. Obviously with different people. So I think the whole article that we read that we based the podcast on was, does that mean a man doesn't love you if he's been with you a long time and he does not plan on marrying you and does not want to marry you? Does that mean he doesn't love you?
No, it doesn't mean that.
It just means he don't want to get married.
Not always.
There's a difference between somebody who does not want to get married and somebody who does not want to get married to you. Still want to be with you. Just don't want to get married to you.
Yeah, that's rough though, ain't it?
Well, it might be because, I'm going to use myself as an example. I might tell somebody I want to get married, I'm in love, let's be together forever. And based on them knowing me for some years, I might say, well, Eunice, but I'm afraid that you have commitment issues, and the moment that you feel like you have to be married, you ain't gonna want to be together. So they might, take some information from you and say, I don't know, I want to be with you, but I don't know if I should marry you because I don't know if that would be the best thing for our relationship.
Right.
Now, if somebody said that to me, I'd be like, you don't get to speak for me. If I said I want to get married, I want to get married.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know me like that? I actually don't have commitment issues. I do have a fear of committing to the wrong thing.
That's my fear, and that's a big fear though.
Right. So I'm not gonna just be committing and hoping that it works out. If I don't have a lot of assurances, we're not gonna do that.
Imagine being in quarantine with somebody who.
So they say the domestic violence and divorce rates is going up.
I was watching the comedy special last night. Well, Sunday night with I was going in and out with Cedric the Entertainer, and Earthquake came on there, and he was like, I know all these wives want to call up these side chicks right now and tell them to come get their husband. Right.
Look, I don't need all this attention from him. He's been busy with you. And that's the thing, that it's a joke, but it really is not funny. So that's the thing. The whole side chick phenomenon is such an accepted part of our marital culture.
Oh, you're right. Yes.
The day after Christmas, everybody talking about, now the side chick get Christmas, or the day after Valentine's. It's just such an accepted point of view from people in relationships. And I'm like, well, how does this get to be thought of as not okay, but just something we talk about?
People in relationships use it more than anybody else.
They do. And I always like to point out, whenever somebody's trying to make a side chick feel bad about December 26th, is side chicks can only exist in a galaxy with men who cheat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's not be talking about no side chicks.
Different conversation.
I get very offended when people talk about side chicks, not because I am or would be a side chick, but because side chicks do not exist in a vacuum. And someone has to create a side chick. The side chick has to be created in the lab by a married person.
The guy always gets the pass on that. It's always the chick. It's always the chick.
But anyway, stay in focus. So you're saying that does not mean a man doesn't love you because he doesn't want to get married. If a man told you early on, first date or very early on, he had no interest in getting married, you wouldn't hold that against him. However, you would not continue to be open to interacting with him based on your personal goals of still getting married.
Yeah, today.
And I'm saying I will take anybody that I can stand for more than a month. If I could just stand.
More than a week, you mean? Really more than a week.
I was trying. See, the reason why I didn't say a week is because I was trying to make it, but thank you. If I get somebody that I could stand for but you know what? And I'm grown enough to say somebody that can stand me for a month. I'm grown enough to say that.
It goes both ways. It definitely can.
So if I can get that, I'm not going to be overly attached to no paperwork and no ceremonies and no cohabitation. I would just like to know I have this really great person. Again, we'll call him Stedman. And he can live in my guest house when we have quarantine, and I can go drop off banana bread at his door and knock on the window and tell him I left him some banana bread and I'm taking the rest of the dishes back up to the main house that I purchased. And sometimes I might see him on my walks on my estate. I think that's...
And wave at him.
Hey, baby, you doing okay? Okay, see you later.
Okay.
So if y'all don't know what we're talking about, Oprah and Stedman were quarantined from each other because Oprah just got over pneumonia a few months ago, and Stedman had been really still traveling even at the beginning of this pandemic. And so he was quarantined in the guest quarters. And she would share some videos of their quarantine from each other. And I would tell you that it's like a dream relationship. I was like, he's in a whole nother house, but she can walk down the path and take him banana bread.
Mm-hmm.
That's a dream relationship. And we don't know the details of nobody's stuff.
But it looked from the outside looking in.
Sign me up. So So right now, strictly based on age, we are on opposite views of this particular topic. We both agree that that does not mean a man does not love you if he doesn't marry you.
Right.
I am of the mindset that if you don't want to get married, that's cool. Just be a great, amazing person who wants to be with me. Mm-hmm. You are the mindset of if you don't want to get married, don't call me no more. Mm-hmm. And I feel that you should not throw away great people. I think maybe that's when you got hot last time.
Throwing away great people.
We started won't never smoke because at almost 45, I can count how many great people as far as men on one hand.
I agree.
Or finger.
I agree, but I am still.
So I'm saying to you at that age, almost 10 years behind me, I'm saying don't throw away good people just because they don't want what you want.
I mean, I get that. I don't have a problem
right now.
I don't have a problem with great people. Yeah. I'm just saying I wouldn't want to set myself up for something.
Because you're not gonna change his mind.
Exactly.
Not gonna wear him down.
I wouldn't want to be stupid to think I could change somebody's mind either. Like,
right. But I think I would want to be stupid and think I could change his mind that mindset would potentially cause you to throw away a great person. They could just be a great person.
I don't think so. I mean, I wouldn't be mean about it.
You can't help but be mean about it.
I wouldn't be mean about it.
You're not to be mean about it.
Yeah, you cool, but you know.
Okay, so let me ask you that. Would you communicate, well, I want to get married and you don't, and so I'm not going to see you no more?
Yes, I would.
And go away.
No, I would communicate that. And like let you know, hey, this can only go this far because I don't want.
Right. See, the reason why I would almost counsel you to not do that is because then all he got to do is say, oh yeah.
But once he says that, I'm like, no, you already told me. I already, you knew your goals before you knew mine. So no, we're good.
Oh, so you wait.
That would make him inauthentic at that point. And then I definitely don't want to deal with him. What are you looking at?
No, I'm just saying that a lot of times, I think on both ends, that when we're presenting ourselves to someone as a potential partner or mate or relationship, we do want to appeal to what they would be attracted to.
We do, but
everybody does.
We talked about that as women, we have to be careful about how much we reveal of our desires and things of that up front, because you want that genuine person to, that person to be genuine towards you, and you want them to say
that they're giving you all the answers to the test. But I'm saying we're speaking from a woman's point of view, right? So let's use this as an example. And I mean, marriage is an extreme. But let's say we've been talking about how much we've been having to cook in this quarantine. We have not really thoroughly enjoyed it as much. We can cook, we do cook, but it's overrated. But now this guy says, do you cook?
But yeah, go ahead.
So this guy says on the date, do you cook? You say what?
When I have to.
Oh, you say that on the date? You don't say, oh yeah, I can cook.
I don't front like that because I already know. I actually don't try to present my best self. I try to present my worst self in the nicest way.
Okay, we should probably look into that's probably a whole other podcast. Who says I try to present my worst self?
No, actually, the way I want to be treated. And so for me to act like I sit here and cook and I can throw down in the kitchen.
But maybe you don't cook because you don't have anybody to cook for or with.
But I explain that. I'm like, hey, I live by myself. It's only me. So I cook occasionally, but that's not something I do.
Ain't that I'm trying to do all the time, every day. So a lot of times women might misrepresent their interests and skills in the kitchen because that man is attracted to someone who can cook. So I'm saying we do it both ways, where if a woman says I want to get married and a man presents himself as marriage material and is open to it in order to have that relationship.
Yeah, I get it. But that is a personal thing. I try not to misrepresent myself because I know who I am and who.
And that's why with tight pants, because now that you have articulated it, you try to present your worst self. When tight pants still had you on the vision board, you knew something was up.
Yeah.
He was like, "There's no way you could actually like me."
Have you been listening? I mean, what?
Time is up. You still got me on your vision board. I might have to talk to you about that. That's all.
Because he didn't know me. If he knew me enough, if we had been together a while,
he would know that he would not have liked you. Is what you?
No. I'm saying he would have known he didn't like me in spite of my faults, as opposed to, oh, I'm just gonna like her because she's available.
Right. Right, and so that's what I'm saying. Women do the same thing. Hey, he's a man. He say he want to get married. I don't like this. I wish he wasn't this, and I wish this one like that. But that's all right. He's still going along. And by the time you got this thing to have in the hole, you be like, oh, MG, where did he come from?
Who is this person?
I look at that honestly with a lot of my exes. Once it's over, as much as I might try to work and stick and move and figure out how to be, accessible, available, make this work. Once it is over, I have such a sense of relief more than failure. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I was trying to put a square peg in a round hole.
Too much. Too much work.
Too much work. And again, I feel like we land all of our podcasts now with why we're gonna be single forever. This is supposed to be hopeful and inspiring and thought-provoking, and we always try to be self-reflective. And I am in a different place today than I was when I may have potentially had that person in my life. I was very attached to marrying that person, and because of that, I don't think I did anything to ruin the relationship, but I think the timing of when I wanted that and when he could offer that was not then. And so I can look back and see gaping holes in moments and times. I can remember what I was thinking, but I can't remember what we were doing or what happened. So I missed out on a lot of good stuff just because I was overly attached to it in game.
Yeah.
And you saying you attach to your end game and have it go.
For today. Right now, yeah.
We will check back in 5 to 10 years.
Hey, if I change, I'll let y'all know. I'm like, hey, I met this great guy.
See, that's what I think will happen. You'll meet this great guy. He'll tell you he does not want to get married. And by date 4 or 5, I'm like, wait, you still seeing this guy?
He's a great guy, and I want to see. I mean, so
that's what I'm asking you, though. That's what I was asking you when you got off the chest.
But I'm telling you today. But I'm saying, like, if a year from now, I'll be like, okay, y'all, I think I met the guy.
I think you just got to meet the guy.
The problem is,
I think you just got to meet the guy. I don't think it's a year from now. I don't think it's 5 years from now. I think you meet the guy.
Right, yeah, it's not going to be a time frame.
Yeah, it's going to be when you meet the guy. And, as they say, you know when you know. And I think if you just meet the guy and he just so happens to not want that but want you, you going to probably be all right. We'll have a commitment ceremony for you. He don't have to be there. We don't want to ruin it for him. But okay, so we agree. It doesn't mean a man doesn't love you, but you can't change a man's mind.
Yes.
Leave him if he tells you he don't want to get married. Don't tell him you want to get married for him to say, yeah, he want to get married too, just to take you through some changes.
No.
Be careful with what you share and be open to changing what it is you want and need, because we all change and we have different wants and needs.
As you evolve, yes.
As you evolve. Not necessarily even as you get older. It really is as you evolve, because you can still be a young person and be so much more evolved than you were and still be young. So I don't like to ever say because of an age, because there's also people my age and older that ain't evolved at all. I was telling you about the 56-year-old man who was still talking to me about wanting a woman with pretty feet. I said, bro, at 56, she need to be recognizing signs of a stroke more so than her. But I felt like he had not evolved enough in what he should be looking for at 56. Need to hear right there. That might be a whole nother podcast. When you gonna get you some real checklist points? Because it's women and men, our age and older, who still don't even have no real checklist for real.
Yeah.
So you get what you get. You go to a restaurant, you order the steak and the mashed potatoes with gravy. If they brought you the chicken with corn on the cob, you ain't gonna just eat it. You're gonna be like, that ain't what I wanted. And so many people don't even have a list or a thought of who they want. That they just,
it's just whatever. It's whatever's coming.
They brought me something to eat, I ate it. Yeah. Right. So you got to get clear about what it is you want, but also being open. Oh, I can't wait till you meet them. Oh, I can't wait. Because I'm going to say, I told you so. I told you so. All right. Make sure you like the podcast. Make sure you follow us on all podcast platforms. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and share. And Patreon. You have on your Oh No Girl Yes shirt.
I do, but my computer's not there it is.
And then he did it.
No, he didn't.
You supposed to, I said that. You supposed to say your part.
Oh, girl, yes, he did. My bad. That's what it says on the back.